Welcome back to Cornertwist. Heck yeah. Welcome back everybody to Cornertwist and to the series Class of Sub 20, where I will be teaching you how to be Sub 20 as fast as possible. If you're new here, don't worry about it. I'm gonna give you the rundown real quick. This series is structured so that way every one of my videos will build on the previous concepts that we've talked about. So if you have not watched previous videos, I highly recommend you do so. If you're already a more intermediate cuber, then you got nothing to worry about. Just jump right in and be prepared for me to use terminologies that you may or may not be accustomed to, but I'm sure you'll get the gist of it. If you are not currently sub 20 but you would like to be, go ahead and consider subscribing, because then you'll see all the content that I put out, as well as be able to support me in that way. It's not like I'm not going to make the videos if you don't subscribe, but still, I like it anyway. And go ahead and do all the other normal YouTube stuff, except for likes. We don't like those. I don't know why we don't like the likes. Maybe they just don't like me. In the very last 4 videos that we did, we talked about advanced F2L. We went over just about every single case that you can think of, so that way whenever you see them, you'll be able to understand how to pair them up as effectively as possible. So if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and check those out. But today we're going to be talking about color mutuality, which is a pretty common topic that needs discussion, and so yeah, we're going to tackle it. So let's get into it. Else, we're going to talk about what it actually means to be color mutual. What I mean by that is that normally whenever you start a cross, normally you'd start off with a cross color, such as white, and you would build a cross upon it like that. As you know, that's the foundation of CFOP, the method that we're using. You would then continue on with the rest of the solve by doing F2L, and then your last layer stuff, like OLL and PLL. But it's actually possible to start out on other colors, not just white. You probably already know that, but today we're going to be talking about how to actually accomplish this and some helpful tips. Color mutuality is actually kind of a difficult thing to teach, as you are really just relying on the knowledge that you have with building a certain color cross that you started out on. I'm assuming that most of you started out on white like I did. And if that's the only color that you've ever solved on, I imagine it's going to be pretty difficult. The best thing I can do for you if you're wanting to become color mutual is to break things down for you and show you what exactly needs to happen to get you solving on a different color than the one you've already been solving on. So firstly, if you've been following along with my videos, you know how to make a least white cross. You just find all your edge pieces, and then you would just make a cross solution, something like that, and then make the cross in the white color scheme. So just like we solved on white just now, you can replicate that on to another color as well. So instead of white, let's take maybe blue, for instance. First, you would need to find all the edge pieces. So we've got one here, we've got one here, and then we've got 2 back here. So from this point, we try our best to treat each one of these as we would if they were white. But you eventually want to get to a point where you can just make a cross solution in your head and execute it without looking at the cube. So if we were to be thinking about these like the white pieces, we know that we can do a reverse piggyback here by putting this orange right onto this orange center cap, like this. And then once we do that, we can then put it in, and then this edge piece connected to the centerpiece will come back down right here, and then we'll be left with this unoriented red blue cross piece underneath here. So it's not the greatest cross solution of all time, but it would just look something like this, or then we would need to put this one up here, kick it in. The important thing to note here is that we just made a blue cross. Just like how the white cross has been essential to all of our solves that we've ever done on this channel, the blue, if we're starting out with that color, the blue cross would be the most essential thing to this solve. So again, the only thing that changes are the color schemes. So instead of solving on white, you just now solved on blue, which means that you're going to have different F2L color schemes as well. So normally if you've been starting out on the white cross and you look at your F2L stage, you start out with red and orange, which is still the case here. But if you're starting out solving on the blue side, then your F2L cases will now lack the blue and green where you normally have them, and they'll be replaced with the white and yellow. So if you've been getting used to using the same color grouping terminologies I've been using throughout the series so far, you're used to the warm and cool color groupings. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about right now, I usually refer to the orange and red stickers as being warm groupings, so they're both warm, as well as the green and blue being cool color groupings because they're both cooler colors when compared to red and orange. When regarding to the yellow and the white stickers, in comparison to everything else, they're not exactly as warm as red and orange, but I would still refer to them as being warm when compared to the green and blue stickers. So since we're starting on one of the cool colors, that means that we're going to have these two warm colors and these two lesser warm colors. So yeah, F2L will be the same as it has always been when solving on the white cross, only now we're going to be looking for the colors that actually make sense when doing F2L starting on the blue cross. So really what we need to be doing is going back in time and thinking back through all the videos that we've been doing so far. Imagine you just watched the series from the very beginning, but instead of solving on the white cross, you solved on the blue. You could actually even do that, go back and watch every one of the videos, but then try to do it on another color. You don't need to do that, but think about it if you did. We'd be starting out learning how to build crosses again, and then you'd also be learning how to do F2L from this point on. So if we were starting out with the cube how it is right now, normally we'd be looking at these white corner stickers to determine the corner piece that we're going to be first slotting into one of these columns, and then we would find the edge piece. But in this scenario, we're not looking for the white color so much as we're looking for the blue. The reason for that is the color that we're looking for of importance on the corner pieces is the color that matches the cross. So if we were building on a white cross, of course we're going to be looking for the white stickers. If in this case we're building on the blue cross, then this is going to be the important color to focus on the corner pieces. So just as we know from before, the other two colors that aren't the cross color are going to be the important ones. So we've got a red and we've got a white. That means that the other edge piece that corresponds with this corner piece is going to also have these two colors on them. So if we take a look around the cube, we should find the edge pieces right here. You see how that works? We've got white, white, red, red. It's not any different than what we've already talked about. So from here, just like before, we would identify what kind of pairing we need to put these into. And by now you should be familiar with every F2L case because of the last 4 videos. So we would just need to pair these two up. This right here would be an opposite pairing, but we need to have this edge piece go right here. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. And now we've got a setup pairing right here, which needs to be inserted. Keep in mind that edge orientation works the same way here as well. So if we turn the U layer to look at this case from this angle, the red matches up with the orange. And remember that these two are still referred to as the warm colors. So since this sticker is over top of another warm sticker, this would not be considered oriented. Or just as before, if you just moved it like this, now the warm color is over top of a not as warm color. You could get away with calling these cooler whenever you're working with these two color schemes like this. But then this would now be oriented. So all you need to do is think about how to solve this pair, where it would need to be exactly where it is, because think about how you need to solve this. The two colors that are on these two pieces, aside from the cross color, are going to be the ones that slot down in between those same two colors on the F2L side of the cube. So if we look, we've got white and red. So of course they're going to need to be inserted together in between these two white and red colors. So we just go ahead and insert them the way that we know how, and voila, we have an F2L column already solved. Now at this point, of course, we see another blue here. That is the cross color that we're working with, so this is a color of importance. Therefore, the other two colors are the ones that we need to be focusing on, which is yellow and red, and yellow and red. So we have both of the pieces that go together right here. So not any differently than before, we're just going to break these two apart, and we need to make them into an opposite pairing. So I'm going to hide this corner piece by using this bad column back here, move this one up here, and then now we have another pair ready to be inserted. Of course, we just insert them like normal. At this point in the series, I haven't talked about last layer too much. I've just taught you the very basic 2-look OLL and 2-look PLL, which you're familiar with if you've watched the first video. But normal patterns that you look out for are the arrow cases, the line cases, the dot cases, and of course the cases where you have the cross on top. It's very easy to see that you can still make out those patterns even if it's on a different color. So if you just go about things as normal, you would find out which pattern this is on the top, go ahead and put in the corresponding algorithm, and then now you would need to look at the patterns on the side here. I know this is going to look really weird if you've never seen this color scheme before, but you're going to be able to make out what case this is. Once you realize that this is one of the cases where you have 4 sets of headlights instead of 3, then you'll be able to act accordingly and you'll be good from there. So yeah, I hope you see what I mean. Nothing really changes foundationally about the cube whenever you look at it from a different perspective on a different color. It's just that, it's just a different perspective. I really don't want to be the guy that just says practice and that's all the useful tips I give. But regarding color mutuality, there's not much else that you can do. Of course, there is a best way to practice these, and that would just be to pick one color that you're not familiar with and just start solving on that one a lot. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this until you become very comfortable with one color at least. So if you're at the point where you're pretty good with white, but you're not perfect with white, I would recommend just getting really good with one color like that, and then moving on to other colors. Now that we understand color mutuality and how to accomplish it, there is a big question. do you need to actually become color mutual? If you were to ask any big cuber back a few years ago, they probably would have told you, yes, of course. The benefits from becoming color mutual are you have lots of different options when starting out the cross. Let's say, for example, you're given a scramble and you put it in and you look at it and you're just like, this is atrocious. The color that you're familiar with offers a very bad cross solution of like 8 moves or more, which we know it's ideal to get 8 moves or less. Or, we haven't really talked about this because it's more advanced, but as you get more advanced with the cube, you're going to want to do things like plan your first pair after inspection. And if your cross solutions are super long, it's going to make that much harder and you're not going to be able to utilize your inspection time properly. So if you have a really bad setup on white, then what are your options? Well, if you're color mutual, you have a lot of other options, as you can just look to another color. Even though white's cross was really bad, maybe you've got a better cross on yellow, or maybe you've got a better cross on blue, or maybe all of the other colors have a decent cross that you can work with. It gives you a lot more flexibility with your solves. So those are the pros of becoming color mutual, but there are some cons as well. First con is obviously that you have a lot of work ahead of you if you want to become color mutual. Like fully, you want to learn every single color to start out on the cross with. You're going to have to become very accustomed to seeing every single color scheme on the cube, and that's easier said than done. Just to put it into perspective, I've been a color mutual solver now for many years, and I still struggle with certain colors more than others. Me personally, I solved on the white cross starting out, and then eventually I moved into solving the yellow, and then I solved on the cooler colors, so blue and green. I'm decent with blue and green, but my strengths lie within the white and yellow color schemes. Red and orange, however, I'm not very good with. Now, depending on where you are right now, it may not matter to you so much that the difference is just a couple seconds. So for example, if I were to solve on the white cross as opposed to like the red or orange, I might have a solve that's solved 3 or 4 seconds faster. So according to your perspective, it might not seem that big a deal. But as you start getting closer to sub 20, you realize that really everything you do counts. So just as an example, if I were to have a good cross solution set up on green, but I'm not familiar with green as much as I am my other strong colors, then I might have a really fast cross solution, but then my F2L is going to suffer, and then my OLL is going to suffer, and then my PLL is going to suffer. If I'm saving a half a second on my cross, but I'm losing a second in F2L and I'm losing a second in OLL and PLL, doing this just doesn't really seem to make sense. So if you're looking for the professional opinion of a sub 15 solver, there you go. I would recommend just solving on 1 or 2 colors rather than trying to learn all of them and get really good with them. So of course that is just my opinion, and you might find people that disagree with me, naturally. But there are a considerable amount of pro solvers that actually would agree with me nowadays as well. Just think hypothetically for a second. If you were able to solve the same on every single color, doesn't matter which one it is, of course you're going to benefit from color mutuality. But my advice to everyone who isn't actually able to accomplish that is just to become proficient on 2 colors or 4 colors. You'd be surprised on what you can make happen with just 2 colors. So in that previous little scenario I gave where your white cross was atrocious, there's a good chance that yellow might actually have a better cross. And you'll find that if you started out on white cross, yellow cross won't be that hard for you to learn because their color schemes are very similar. The whites change to yellows and the yellows change to whites. That's basically all that is. And that's actually what I'm recommending in this video. I don't want to convince you to be just solving on 1 color, but I also don't try to recommend that you would go and be fully color mutual, as that's kind of unrealistic. So if you want to think about it mathematically for a second, if that helps you, if you know 1 color proficiently, then you've got a 1 in 6 chance that you're going to be successful in looking for a cross solution. Where if you're proficient with 2, that would make it a 2 in 6 chance, which if you're good at fractions and you know how to reduce that, it would turn into a 1/3 chance. So if numbers matter to you, that's pretty substantial, I think. I would say your odds are pretty good if you're doing it that way. I know there's not really a whole lot I can say other than that in this video, but I do think that this needed to be talked about, and I'm glad to be able to put out a video about it. So yeah, this is more of just a talking video. I'm not even going to be doing an example solve because I don't really see the point in doing that. So very soon we're going to be getting into the last layer videos, which I'm very excited about. So the last video I'm going to insert in between this video and the last layer videos is going to be a video just going in depth about how to be sub 20 in general. Up to this point, I haven't really given you a glance into my whole structure and my plan throughout this entire series, but I'm going to be giving that to you guys in the next video, and I'm also going to be just going over the math on how to actually accomplish being sub 20. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. Take care. Bye. I love a cube with no corner twists on it. What? 3 corner twists! 4 corner twists!